Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and honorable teachers. Welcome to the presentation. Today we will talk about extralinguistic issues in intercultural communication and the diverse role of society in cultures. So let's begin then. During the lecture, you will have the information about the 5 questions that every society must answer according to Clark-Hahn and Strodbeck, and I identified the 3 potential responses to each question. And then we will learn about the Hofstadter 6 dimensions of the culture, and at last we will talk about some problems that critics have identified with Hofstadter's theory. Let's move on. So the first one is value orientation theory, which was made by Clark-Hahn and Strodbeck. According to Clark-Hahn and Strodbeck, every culture faces the same basic survival needs and must answer the same universal questions. It is out of this need that cultural values arise. The basic questions faced by people everywhere fall into 5 categories and reflect concerns about human nature, the relationship between human beings and the natural world, time, human activity, and social relations. Clark-Hahn and Strodbeck hypothesizes 3 possible responses or orientations to each of the concerns. So the next is, what is the inherent nature of the human being? This is question, say Clark-Hahn and Strodbeck, that all societies ask, and there are generally 3 different responses. They are evil, mixed, and good. The people in some societies are inclined to believe that people are inherently evil and that the society must exercise strong measures to keep the evil impulses of people in check. On the other hand, other societies are more likely to see human beings as born basically good and possessing an inherent tendency towards goodness. Between these 2 poles are societies that see human beings as possessing the potential to be either good or evil depending upon the influences that surround them. Societies also differ on whether human nature is immutable, that is unchangeable, or immutable, that is changeable. What is the relationship between human beings and the natural world? Some scientists believe nature is a powerful force in the face of human beings are essentially helpless. We could describe this as nature over humans. Other societies are more likely to believe that through intelligence and the application of knowledge, humans can control nature. In other words, they embrace a humans over nature position. Between these 2 extremes are the societies who believe humans are wise to strive to live in a harmony with the nature. So the thing is, what is the best way to think about the time? Some scientists are rooted in the past, believing that people should learn from history and strive to preserve the traditions of the past. Other societies place more value on the here and now, believing people should live fully in the present. Then there are societies that place the greatest value on the future, believing people should always delay immediately satisfactions while they plan and work hard to make a better future. So the next is, what is the proper mode of human activity? In some societies, being is the most valued orientation. Striving for great things is not necessary or important. In other societies, becoming is what is most valued. Life is regarded as a process of continual unfolding. Our purpose on earth, the people might say, is to become fully human. Finally, there are societies that are primarily oriented to doing. In such societies, people are likely to think of the inactive life as a wasted life. People are more likely to express the view that we are here to work hard and that human worth is measured by some of our accomplishments. So the next is, what is the ideal relationship between the individual and the society? Expressed in another way, we can say that the concern is about how a society is best organized. People in some societies think it's the most natural that a society be organized hierarchically. They hold to the view that some people are born to lead and others to follow. Leaders, they feel, should make all the important decisions. Other societies are best described as valuing collateral relationships. In such societies, everyone has an important role to play in society. Therefore, important decisions should be made by consensus. In still other societies, the individual is the primary unit of society. In societies that place great value on individualism, people are likely to believe that each person should have control over his or her own destiny. When groups convene to make decisions, they should follow the principle of one person, one vote. So today the Clark-Honneth-Rothbard framework is just one among many attempts to study universal human values. Others include those of Hofstede, Rocker, and Schwartz. Now let's try to learn Hofstede's dimension of culture theory. The great Hofstede articulated the dimensions of culture theory in the 1980s and has updated and revised it over the years. Hofstede's theory currently gets a lot of attention in basic texts that include discussion of cultural values. Based on survey data collected from IBM employees, Hofstede has argued that this theory is particularly useful for highlighting similarities and differences between national cultures. Hofstede initially defined it like 6 dimensions. There is a 4, but other 2 coined then. So the first one is power distance. The power distance is a measure of the degree to which less powerful members of society expect and accept an unequal distribution of power. There is a certain degree of inequality in all societies, notes Hofstede. However, there is relatively more equality in some societies than in others. Countries vary along a continuum from countries where power distance is very low to countries where power distance is very high. Measured on a scale of 1 to 100, for instance, Denmark's score is very low and Mexico's score is quite high. The US falls somewhere in between. So the next one is individualism versus collectivism. This is an opposite ends of a continuum that describes how people define themselves and their relationships with others. Countries that score higher on individualism measure are considered by definitely less collectivistic than countries that score lower. In more highly individualistic societies, the interests of individuals receive more emphasis than those of the group. Individualistic societies put more value on self-striving and personal accomplishments, while more collectivistic societies put more emphasis on the importance of relationship and their loyalty. So the next is masculinity versus femininity. This refers to dimensions that describe the extent to which strong distinctions exist between men's and women's roles in society. Societies that score higher on the masculinity scale tend to value assertiveness, competition, and material success. Countries that score lower in masculinity tend to embrace values more widely thought as feminine values, for example, modesty, quality of life, interpersonal relationships, and a greater concern for the disadvantaged of society. So the next is uncertainty avoidance. This measures the extent to which people value predictability and view uncertainty or the noun as threatening. People in societies that measure high in uncertainty avoidance prefer to know exactly what to expect in any given situation. They want firm rules and strict codes of behavior. They dislike ambiguity. People from countries that score low on uncertainty avoidance generally have a higher tolerance for ambiguity. So the next one is long-term versus short-term orientation. Long-term versus short-term orientation is a 5th dimension developed some after the initial 4. It emerged as a result of an effort by a research group to develop a universal value framework with a non-Western bias. According to Hofstede, the resulting Chinese values survey overlapped with 3 of Hofstede's dimensions: power distance, individualism, and masculinity, although not with the uncertainty avoidance dimension. In addition, the group found a unique factor not reflected in Hofstede's work, which they called confusion dynamism. Hofstede has since incorporated confusion dynamism into his own theory of long-term versus short-term orientation. The long-term versus short-term orientation associated with thrift, savings, persistence toward result, and the willingness to subordinate oneself for a purpose. Short-term orientation is associated with the less saving, a preference for quick results, and a unrestrained spending in response to social pressure. Often referred as to keep in English as keeping up with the Joneses. Indulgence versus self-restraint. Indulgence versus self-restraint